Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Super excited for today's guest. He is the CEO of Patience and Profit, which teaches health professionals how to run successful businesses so they create more impact. Very excited to be rocking out with James Neilson Watt. Hey James, are you ready to rock?
I am, my friend. I'm excited.
Awesome. So we always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we could be inspired by.
So I was a health professional, chiropractor by trade, but specialized in stress disorders and chronic pain, and had been doing well in practice, but never felt fully fulfilled because there was other parts of my life that I wanted to do. I wanted to travel and and stuff like that. And my wife and I were due for a baby, and I'm like, I can't be at work all the time. I want to be home. I want to have options. And so I said, well, I must, as Tony Robbins would get you to do. I'm a big fan of his, by the way. Say, I must, change something. And so launched a small program to show people how to get more clients like we were, and got ridiculous results, realized that I was massively undervaluing myself, started charging more, set a goal of saying, I want to make 100 grand a year. If I can make 100 grand a year from this internet thing, then I can justify not going into clinic, because 100 grand working like a day or two a week is pretty good. Then making more, but working full time. And that was kind of the number that I promised. I said to my wife, I said, babe, when are you going to let me quit? And she said, if you make 100 grand. I went, okay. Now I took it as like, I'm very literal. So I hear it and I'm like, cool, 100 grand. And then, but she's a bit more, she just gave me a number, not thinking I was going to hit it. Hit 100 grand in 2 months, cash. And I said, so can I quit? And she goes, oh, maybe not yet. I said, all right, well, what kind of number needs to make sense then? She goes, I don't know, maybe a bit more than that, blah, blah. So then, bearing in mind, she's a chiro as well, and we ran the practice together. She just wasn't practicing. And so then within 8 months, I hit 100 grand a month in revenue. Within 13, I'd collected $1 million in cash. And now we do significantly more than that. And that all happened very, very quickly for me because I had massive reasons why I must do it. And so that my big win is that I just came out of the gates and just went mental and crushed it, because I just wanted to get out of practice, and didn't realize how good my stuff was, and how easy it was going to be to sell once I started getting some clients, some results, which surprised me as well, but makes me feel good looking back, being a complete amateur at the time.
Wow, that is a great story. So yeah, you found out that you were undercharging. Like, what was that like? How did that work? How did you realize that, I guess?
Well, I charged like $300 for a 6-week program, because I thought, oh, I'll go low, I'll just test, I'll see how it goes. And I had a client that I'd made $60,000 for, but they didn't want to continue with some coaching with me for like $200 a month. And I went, well, this is not right. What's going on here? And I started, listening to people and reading stuff, and realized that, maybe the fact that I was charging so low commoditized myself and made people not really value what I was doing, because they didn't look at it as, oh, James helped me make 60 grand, in 6 weeks or whatever it was. They saw it as, he showed me some basic stuff, and and that basic stuff is not worth much, because they're looking at the commodity of it, not the outcome of it. And so I bumped it up from that to 3,500, and then just kept raising my prices. Now we charge 12K. And, sales is the same. Like, our conversion rates are the same, if not better. Clients get better results. Clients are happier. I make more money, so I can reinvest in the business, and I'm charging like 10 times as much. But it didn't affect anything, except things got better and easier, which is super weird. Like, immediately we think, oh, I'll charge less because, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. Just charge based on the outcome you're creating, the impact you're creating. And I started, and obviously this is hindsight, right? But it makes a massive difference.
Yeah. You know what? I think that's really good. A good tidbit right there. Like, charge based on the outcome that you produce, because as you said, I mean, if you're helping your clients make $60,000, well, then you've got some room to grow. And
Yeah.
you're 100% right. I know for sure that if you undercharge, people put you in that bracket. And now all of a sudden you're not really worth anything. And you're attracting people that are, struggling to pay you $300, which is not the clients that you want, really, in the first
Well,
place. I mean, the best
they're
scenario
also,
you
it's
could have gotten was
scarcity
that
too.
client could have told you, I want to pay you more, right?
I was saying, sorry, my audio cut out there for a second. I was saying that it's a scarcity thing too. Like a person who's looking at the cheap option is not considering the benefit to them. They're trying to get things cheap and save money and blah, blah, blah. And it's the wrong, they're not going to have success, ironically. Like I've noticed that people, they kick ass in our program now because they've just spent 12K and they're like, I better put in some work, there's a lot of money. And it's like, it is, but the return on investment for us on average is 150,000 a year in additional revenue. Yeah. So it's a 10X. And then if you look at that over a decade, that's $1.5 million for a $12,000 investment. Like that's insane. But so we're always looking at consistently increasing prices to match the results that we're getting, because it's a value exchange. How much is 150 grand worth to you? It's worth more than $100,000. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Because if you pay me 100, I make you 150, you just got a 50% return.
Yep.
In a year, and in a decade you made 1.5 million. Like you can't buy maybe some weird cryptocurrency. So I just realized like there's nothing else that's producing that. So focus on value, not on anything else. And the game changed. I got out of the muck of everyone doing these $47 courses and stuff like that, and just went high ticket.
Wow. Great. Yeah, we could talk about that for a long time, but I want to get to the next topic, which is the bad note, which is, the story of, we all kind of hit bad notes along the way, right? There's mistakes that are going to happen. So wondering, was there something that kind of sticks out for you as a big mistake that you made that maybe, set you back, and how can we avoid that, or how can we recover from that if it happens to us?
I don't have any, like big failure loss things, so to speak. I mainly have like hindsight, right? So looking back, I'll go, okay, if I had changed it, would be different now. What did I learn, but I had to go through pain to learn? And was when things aren't going well, looking at trying to add some fancy new tactic or strategy to solve it. So if I'm not getting enough clients, I must need to change my tactic, versus actually looking and going, well, what's changed between now and when it was working? Because simple businesses scale, right? Complex ones fail, a mentor once said to me. He said, any big business is not complex. It's extremely simple. You can't get big if you're complex. Apple tried to get complex, and then they died, and they had to bring Jobs back, who got rid of all of their product line and things like that, right? There's countless examples of this. And so when I'm looking at my business, let's say July is going bad, right? And April, May, June was good. I go, what am I doing differently in July? I don't start with what's different in the world. Is Facebook failing me? I'm looking at, what am I doing differently? Am I thinking about it differently? Am I acting differently? And so for me, I spent too long trying to get new tactics to solve problems, instead of just doubling down on what I was doing and doing it better, and going, well, why is it not working now when it did before? And so let's say you're running ads. If the ads aren't working now, it's not Facebook, it's not the iOS update. You just don't know what your audience wants anymore. You're not listening, because Facebook's a multi-billion dollar massive thing. Like it's not going to stop working because they'd lose all their revenue and Facebook would die, and it's not going to happen. So it's you. So for me, the biggest failing was not realizing that fast enough and buying tens of thousands of dollars of programs that I learned a hell of a lot from, but probably didn't need to get to really where I wanted to be, and could have done it leaner, more profitably, less stressfully, and had bigger outcomes had I known that at the start, which is, don't change the strategy and tactic all the time. Change my emotional state about what I'm looking at, understand averages, and, just focus on what was working and do that again, not to just buy more shit.
Yeah, James, that's gold. It's cold. But it's true. I mean, we tend to want to like pass blame off onto something else, right? Oh, it's just I'm using the wrong strategy or something like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, anytime something happens, if you end up fixing it, it's probably not from one of these tactics. Now, it could be indirectly because you might actually gain more confidence by using a different strategy, but that's not the strategy. That's you changing the way you're thinking about it that got you the better success, right?
Well, then you get addicted 100%, and then you get addicted to it because you misattribute why things are going better. You think it's because you change your strategy, and then you go, well, it's not working again. So just like a dog, a trained dog, I'm going to go and
find a new strategy.
Find a new strategy, and hopefully that works. Like, I'm just going to find another person, a thing to beg to. And you look at people who are struggling to get to 6 figures, they're just bouncing around with stuff. And then people struggling to get to 7 figures are doing the same thing, but just typically a little bit less. Because if you've been able to get past 6 and multi 6 figures, you're pushing 7, like it's a different level. And so you're doing less of the stuff that you would have done pre 6 figures. But it's really apparent in new businesses and people who are really struggling, because it's like we're looking for a lottery ticket to save us. It's a classic poverty mindset. Somebody else has to save me. Something has to come along and save me. I need the tactic. You're successful because you did this one thing. It's like, no, it's actually, it's not the fact that I run Facebook ads and you don't, or I do this and you don't. Like, it's not typically that. Now, of course, people listening, like, there is sometimes where you ran a Facebook ad and it crushed and it's like, yeah, Facebook exploded my business or whatever. Cool. But generally speaking, the rule is it's not a tactical thing or a strategy thing. And yes, you can have those. I bought a cryptocurrency and made $1 billion. That's not how you get rich, though. So don't look at these outliers, because that's not reality,
Yeah, that's playing the lottery.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which might work for you, but probably won't, right?
Don't plan for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And hit the lottery, maybe. Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about the band. So, you could do a lot on your own, but at some point, if you want to get into these, like you say, these $100,000 a year businesses or a month businesses, then you're probably not going to be able to do it completely on your own. Am I right with that?
And I think that you can go fast when you're alone, and you go far when you have a team. I didn't build a team fast enough, but I got there on my own. But I will bleed through the eyes for what I want. So don't follow me. But I would say, yeah, like you need people to assist you when it's productive, but too many people hire people when they don't really need to. That's the other thing. Like, you build a team, but see that the overarching principle with this, and it relates to the strategy thing too, is you look at bigger businesses and they're trying a bunch of stuff. They're on YouTube ads, they're in Facebook ads, they're doing groups, they're doing this, they're doing that. And you look at them and you go, I guess I'm going to do that. Like, there's this I don't know if you've heard this, but there's like this misnomer that millionaires have 7 streams of income. I was reading somewhere and heard people talk about it. It's not true, right? They don't. They have one that made them $1 million, and then they started to diversify later. And then when they had tens of millions, they had multiple streams of income because they purchased assets and businesses and things that generated income, but they didn't get there with 7.
Yeah.
And so the same thing with a team, same thing with strategies, tactics. Like, you don't get there with a bunch of stuff and a bunch of people. You get there, and then you begin to diversify and add people to your team. You don't need an operations manager, a marketing manager, a social media manager. Like, you don't need those things. Even though the big cats have that, they have that for a reason, because they can't do it all because they're so large. It's like a support ticket software, right? It's touted as like the thing to do. Go get a support ticket software where you can have like frequently asked questions and like a document storage of things. It's like, don't have any of that. Just email people. Like, you don't get enough requests. It's meaningless. You're just spending money for no reason. So just reply an email or Facebook. Like, don't be fancy. So we don't even have one now. So so for me, it's like, if you're building your team, the first thing you need is somebody to do the stuff that doesn't make sense for you to do anymore. So I'll give you an example. Our first hire was somebody to clean our house, because me spending 2 hours on a Saturday or a Wednesday or whatever, cleaning my house every week was a waste of time, because I can pay someone $20 an hour to clean my house, and I'm worth more than $20 an hour, or I'm willing to pay more than $20 an hour for time with my kids or my wife, or heck, watching Netflix, because when you got kids, you don't get to do anything. So if I got free time, I don't want to clean my house. Either way, it's inefficient investment of my time. So we got a cleaner. So now we just don't stress. We have a nice clean house. Then we got childcare. So we have an in-house person who is full-time and looks after our oldest son, takes him places and cooks some food and all that kind of thing. And so none of this is business related just yet, because that allowed me to have the ability to spend all day working on the business. I didn't hire somebody to do my job for me in the business, because they're going to do it less efficiently, cost me a lot of money, and the business isn't going to do well. Instead, I said, how do I get more time to work on the business? And the answer was, get a cleaner, get someone to look after my kid, right? Then we got, we call it HelloFresh in New Zealand, is one of the brands that they ship you a box of like vegetables and stuff, right? And so it has meal plans in it. So our house manager, or if you want to call her that, childcare person, she gets that on a Monday and she cooks us meals. So the next hire was basically a chef. Wow. Because I just got the box with the meals and now she cooks them for us. So now I have food. I don't have to, like, cooking is such a waste of time. And then you got to go and get the food, you got to plate it, you got to heat it, you got to eat it. Like, it's such a waste of time. So we got her, which cut that down. So now I can just go upstairs, get food, send little boxes and eat it, right? Again, everything just to give me more time to work on the business, because I'm the talent. Then I started to actually get a team. And so looking at, now I didn't do it in this order, right? This is hindsight. I hired the stupid people that I didn't need.
Yeah.
But looking at it, I'm like, this is the intelligent order. Everything to get my time focused. So it got to a point where the one smart hire I did was I got a virtual assistant, because I said, I'm checking my emails, which is such a waste of time. I'm uploading content to social media, such a waste of time. I'm accepting people into my Facebook group and tagging them on the welcome post, waste of time. And I looked at all these things that I'm doing, sending invoices to people, chasing people for payments, handling support questions on like, how do I log into my thing, right? Stuff that the human could have just Googled the answer to, or done it themselves, but needed us to do it for them. And then it ends up falling on me. So I'm looking at all these things. I'm like, I got to get rid of all this because it's such a waste of time. And I got to focus on marketing and sales and client delivery, not minutia. So I hired a virtual assistant from the Philippines. She works for like $5 or $8 an hour, does an amazing job, and takes like 10 hours of stuff off my plate. And 10 hours for me is a hell of a lot more than paying her 10 hours worth of stuff, right? And so I just started getting rid of as many things as possible so that I was lean and could focus on the things that mattered, which is marketing, sales, and client delivery. And that's what's allowed me to scale. And now I have, a client success manager. I have appointment setters. I have someone doing sales. I'm hiring an operations manager. They're coming in August. We've got an ads team, things like that, because it was a process of slowly eliminating things that were holding me back from doing the stuff that mattered. And when I'm at this level, the stuff that matters is sales and creating stuff for the marketing team and coaching my clients, building more things, not handling client success where I'm like, congratulations, that was a great win. Like someone else can do that.
Yeah, that's a really, really amazing way to look at it, because I think most people, when they think about that question about, who to hire, how to build your band, they immediately go to what can I hire them for in my business? Whereas you sort of looked at it as your time in general, and how can I get more time to work on my business? Because you're right. You don't need to start hiring people in your business right away. You can just find more time to do the things in your business, which is the same as just hiring somebody to do some of the stuff in your business, right?
Because at the start, you're going to do it the best because you know it.
Yeah.
And you haven't developed the ability to understand it enough to train it. And hiring good people is expensive, and you can't throw people at problems. Most of the time it's like, I don't know how to do marketing, so I'm just going to hire somebody. It's like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how to parent, so I'm going to hire somebody to parent my kids. Like, would you ever do that? No, that's dumb. Because it's like, it's not going to work long term. It's not sustainable. Like, you're still going to have problems because anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, you gotta know how to do it. And then you bring someone in to take it off your plate,
Yeah.
and you just oversee it. But at the start, until you're doing like multi 6 figures, pushing 7, I wouldn't be looking at many big hires. It's more stuff that just gets stuff off your plate.
Nice. So now let's move to the next step of like getting clients. So, getting fans, I guess, to look at your business. So how do you go about doing that?
The first place to start is, what does my sales journey look like for somebody to become a client? Because if I don't know the steps they're going to have to go through to become a client, then I can't market effectively, because I can't offer them the right bait. It's like, let's say I want to catch tuna fish. Okay. If I think they live in a pond, I'm going to have a hard time catching tuna. If I don't realize that they're kind of big and have sharp teeth, so I need a metal trace line or whatever. I don't fish trace line things so that they don't bite through the nylon, right? Like, so they're just going to bite through my things all the time. If I don't understand that, yes, I can go and catch tuna, but my outcome is not to catch tuna. My outcome is to sell the tuna. So if I don't have a buyer lined up, if I'm catching the wrong breed, if I'm catching the wrong size, and I don't realize that I need to wait for a certain time of the year, or I need to catch them and then feed them some stuff and make them bigger. Like, if I don't understand that whole journey, and I just go and buy a fishing rod and go and catch some tuna, it's not going to work. And even if I do, I can't sell it. It's just cost me money. So looking at all of that first, because then you can go, okay, they're likely going to have to be, problem aware to understand that I've got a problem. They're probably going to have to be aware of some solutions, or be at least looking for solutions. They're going to have to be at a certain income level. They're going to have to be a certain demographics and location. They're going to have consumed a certain amount of content to be confident enough to talk to us and actually have a serious conversation, not just be kind of perusing. And then I'm going to have to get them onto a call, and I'm going to have to know what they really want and need, so I can communicate that to them. And I'm going to have to know how my product solves that problem and gives them the outcome, right? How's my because your client is here and they want to get here, and your solution is the bridge over their obstacle, right? So I don't know how to get clients. I rely on referrals. Okay, so they need a solution for running ads, let's say, right? So you got to know how your thing fits in. All of that's important first. You start there. Then you go and dig deep into their, demographics, their psychographics. What are they interested in? What pains do they feel? What do they fear? What do they desire? Because then you can say, okay, my ideal client is probably hanging out on Facebook. They want to consume content to become educated so they can make more intelligent decisions to get a result. They probably understand these concepts, but they don't understand these concepts. Because if you assume that your market is sophisticated and they're not, then you'll talk about sophisticated terminology and they won't get it. And then they won't sign up for stuff. And you'll be like, but this is amazing. Why are they not signing up? It's like, because they don't care, because they don't understand it. They don't get why this matters. And then then you can actually start, right? Too many of us just go and run a Facebook ad and go, oh, Facebook doesn't work. It's like, no, you suck, not Facebook. You haven't understood your audience.
Yeah.
But then, like, tactically wise, right now we're offering like a free piece of content, a PDF, worksheet, video, something like that, in exchange for a name, email, and phone number. And then we ring every single person who signs up and let them know that they get a free call as part of this to see, what custom client content we can get them to help them grow. So it's like, you signed up for the thing. Hey, this is your complimentary call that goes with it to help you implement it. Did you get the resource? Okay, yes, I did, or not. Ask some questions about their business, in my case, or their problem and their desire. And then if it feels like it's a fit, you pitch them a game plan call where you're going to map out, for us, we map out a 12-month game plan on how they're going to bring in more patients and profit into their practice. For, let's say you help somebody with headaches, you're going to map out a 3-month game plan on how you're going to how they can eliminate their headaches. Obviously, part of that game plan is your product or service. And then you tee them up on a call, qualify them and sell them. Or if you're a practice owner, let's say, you would do the same process on that call, but then you would book them into your clinic as the solution. Instead of selling them a $2,000 program, you'd sell them a $90 consultation and begin a treatment plan. And that's what we do. We offer free stuff, and then we just ring everybody, and it works amazingly.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That's really is. Because really you're kind of handling two things at once. You're handling the sales process as well as the marketing at the same time. Right. And that makes perfect sense, because I think a lot of people sort of, when they think about starting a business, they're just like, oh, I just need to get my name out there. I just need to get as many people looking at this as I can. And it's not really going to work that way. I mean, I suppose, some of your friends are going to share it on their walls and stuff like that. But if your friends aren't your target market, then chances are their friends probably aren't either. You've kind of got to take a step back, like you said, and figure out who it is that you're looking for, and then where they hang out, and then sort of start to craft it that way. And as you mentioned too, you've got a great sales process in place too. You know what they're going to see once they get to your site. And so you can craft your marketing properly in order to just lead them right into the next step. And like you say, next thing you know, you get them on the phone call, right?
Well, if you like, I'll give you, like, that's a bit like, let's say you're semi-established, I'd be doing that, right? You can run some ads, you know some stuff. There's two resources that we all have. Some of us have one more than the other, right? You have time and you have money. If you have money, you generally don't have time, or at least spending time is more expensive than spending money for most things, right? I don't clean my house because spending my time to clean it is more expensive than spending money to clean it. So I spend the money. When you have no money, you only have time. And if you say to me, well, I don't have any time, it's like, no, you do. You're just not allocating it effectively, because Elon Musk is flying us to Mars with the same 24 hours that you and I have watching Netflix. So it's like, we all have time. We've got to just learn how to allocate it productively to get what we want, and not use it as a crutch to say, I can't do things. So assuming that you're starting relatively fresh, or, you don't have a big audience or anything going on, you can do this exact same process, but instead you're just hanging out inside of communities. So you could be on Reddit, you could be hanging out in Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, where you want to hang out, where your people are, and give value, start conversations, connect with people. It's slower, it's more of a grind, but you don't have any money to invest. You do that, you spend time. The moment you start getting some sales, you get results, you've now got more proof. By that point, you should have a bit of an audience following your Facebook, because you should be adding people as friends and things like that. You can then take the profit of the product sale and go invest it into some ads. Because when you spend money on ads, you learn stuff very quickly. You spend $500 on ads and nothing happens. What have you learned? You learn that you don't know what you think you know about your audience. So you go, cool, I just spent $500 and I learned that they do not care about this widget. Great. I'd rather have spent $500 versus spending 500 hours figuring out that no one cares. And so then I can go back to the drawing board, get another sale, get another $500, and do it again differently. Now, I wouldn't spend $500 per thing, but you get my point, right? Like you're spending money to learn things about your audience. And then as you slowly start to collect sales, you're reinvesting that income back in to learn more things about your audience to continue to grow. And you start to have the business cash flow itself until you're now so good at doing it, your margin is getting thicker and thicker. And so you're actually able to take a profit and invest it into other things that feed the sales and the marketing. Because everything in a business, every business is a sales entity. If even a charity is a sales entity, because if a charity can't sell why you should invest in their cause, they're not going to help anybody. So they have to be sales oriented, right? Every business is sales oriented, because business is, I've created value and I'm exchanging it for currency. That's what a business is.
Yep.
And so you have to be sales focused, and your marketing fuels your sales. Your client delivery gets you results, which fuels your marketing, and it becomes a cycle. And when you understand that, you can play the game properly, and then you can go and spend time or money to go and learn the data points that allow you to position yourself as somebody who has value to your audience, and people are willing to then exchange currency for it. That's it in a nutshell for me.
I got nothing to add to that. That was great. So it's time for your guest solo then. So tell me about your business then, and tell us how to find you.
So I help health professionals to bring in more revenue and profit. We do it without them having to be dependent on new clients, because it's a big struggle. They constantly need new clients. And it's because they focus predominantly on pay per session models of treatment, where it's very commoditized and time orientated. And we show them how to build high price programs where they sell an outcome and a result, not a service. In doing that, you generate more revenue, you need less clients, you can reinvest into that cycle more effectively. That's kind of like my thing. But I would say anyone watching this, I create so much content and value out there in general, things around mindset and success and happiness and business and all that kind of thing through my podcast show, the Neilson Watt Show. If you just Google it, it's on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere, etc. We have some amazing guests. I've got Neil Patel coming on the show on Thursday. If you don't know who he is a marketing wizard. Guests like that. And we really, it's not there to teach you marketing and salesy stuff. It's not a business show, so to speak. I'm there to figure out what makes him tick and why he's so successful, so we can learn from that, because it's not the tactics, right? It's the mindset behind it, the actions behind it, the strategy behind it. And I love picking those people's brains. So come check out the show. Neilson Watt Show is where I'd say, whether you're a health professional or not, you'll get a whole lot of value from that.
Awesome. That is great. Yeah, definitely will check that out, because it sounds really cool. So thank you very much for rocking out with me today. This has been a lot of fun, James.
I appreciate it. This is good, dude. This is heaps of fun. I hope people got some value from it, and they can actually go and, my advice is, a lot of people, we listen to a lot of these things and then we don't actually do anything about it. So I would say watch and listen to more of these episodes. If you're listening to this, go and listen to all of them and learn some stuff, and then go and use it. Otherwise, you're just going to keep shopping around, listening to more stuff and never actually implementing anything.
Yes, exactly. Very good. Thank you for driving that point home. That's awesome. And yeah, to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. And like he said, listen to all the episodes. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.